please you can join in with me if you know the words. If you don't know the words, you can hum the tune. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Very good. Just one little story. I love telling stories, and part of my nostalgia coming to Santi to visit. One of the first times I came to this forest, it was a lot different. The building over there didn't have a second story on it. These things were added later on. I remember coming here and having a look around, and then afterwards, just going up the road, there was another Buddhist monastery. And they were just so, you couldn't leave, they were talking so much. And by the time, I was staying in Canberra at the time, and by the time I got back to Canberra, I was supposed to give a talk that evening, and that talk that evening was in Venerable Thich Quang Ba's temple. He'd only just recently just built the main hall. He had many other plans for many other buildings there. And he wanted me to give a talk. And it was incredibly cold in Canberra the day I arrived, and after just a few hours I started getting a cold, sneezing. It was not COVID those days, that was about 30, 40 years ago, but still getting a cold, being very sneezy, and I just wanted to go back to Canberra as soon as possible to take a rest and maybe a shower before the talk. But the visit kept going on and on and on and on and on, and on and on, and on, and on. And by the time I got into Canberra to give the talk, I had about 5 minutes before I was supposed to give this talk. And when I started giving the talk, I remember this very clearly. I was so sneezy and coughy. I was just keeping on blowing my nose. He started giving a talk, and and all this stuff started pouring out of my nose. And it was really difficult to give a talk. I don't know if you've ever had a stuffed nose like that, Ayya Karunika, and you had to give a talk. And as I was talking, I started seeing people, when they start looking, they had watches in those days, not mobile phones, started looking at their watches, looking at each other. You couldn't really get people's attention because the talk was being interrupted all the time, by coughs and sneezes. But so I decided that there's no way I'm going to carry on like this. I said, let's do some meditation now. And they all agreed. So we did a half an hour meditation, only 30 minutes. And then afterwards I gave this talk. I remember my host at the time. I said, did you enjoy that talk? He said, well, it wasn't the talk which was interesting. It was the fact that after the meditation had finished, you never sneezed, you never coughed, and the talk came out so smoothly. And I said, I'm glad you noticed. It was amazing, simply because he used the power of stillness, of samadhi, to get me out of a very, very, very difficult situation. When you feel very sick, You've got a nose which is exploding with stuff coming out. It's very disgusting, and coughing. What do? You can't keep on wiping your nose when you're giving a talk. So you just started to meditate. And as I mentioned to you, I think yesterday, you go right inside, deep inside yourself, become very peaceful, and then what happens is everything calms down. And when you come out of your meditation, it surprises me just how powerful that is. And you can give a nice talk. So even yesterday, and we never got back to the Vihara until, what was it, 11, was it 11 or just past 11? 11:30. And I said, I shouldn't tell you that. Ajahn Brahm comes back after a Saturday night out at 11:30. But that's actually what happens. So you do get tired. But thanks to good old Sri Lankan tea, old pot of it in case I get low energy, and mostly meditation, it's amazing just how it empowers you. It allows the mind to focus naturally, not both through force, and a lovely talk comes out. And these days, without that, I wouldn't be able to give talks. Sometimes you don't get enough sleep. I don't mind that, as long as you get enough meditation, enough stillness. And that was what empowers you. So this talk is sponsored by Samadhi Power Meditation Corporation and Sri Lankan Tea Corporation. Non-profit? Oh no, non-profit, yeah. We don't do profits here. So I know that Venerable Karunika mentioned that we have all these books on the tables over there somewhere, and he said they're for free. They're not for free. They're priceless. And I mention that because often, you receive telephone calls. I hear you're teaching meditation class today, Ajahn Brahm. I said, yes. I said, how much does it cost? Nothing. When I said that, the person on the other end of the phone who spoke with an American accent said, well, it costs nothing, it can't be any good, and hung up. That happens because people don't realize the best things in life are given out from the heart. You can't put a price on them. I don't like calling it free because that means that people don't value it. It's priceless. You can't put a value on it. And all the teachings I was given, all the instructions I received from a great monk like Ajahn Chah and many others, they were all given for free. Priceless. And I value them so highly. And again, the first little, I did this yesterday, but I don't think all of you were here yesterday. And so please remember this as how to meditate. Meditation, samadhi, means stillness. Now that's not just being sort of choosy or pedantic. That's actually what that word means. It does not mean concentration. And just keeping on saying that day after day after day to all the people I talk to has a huge effect. If you call it concentration, this is one of the old jokes, then what are we doing today? Attending a concentration camp. And of course, this is so different from a concentration camp in all meanings of the word. This is a stillness camp. Can you hear that stillness? Can you feel it? That is so much closer to what meditation is all about. Sometimes you can go into a forest or into a cave or just into your room and nothing moves and everything becomes still. When it's still on the outside, your mind kind of resonates with that stillness. And that quietness outside tends to draw the mind into that same stillness. You get so peaceful. And that's exactly what I did when I went over to Venerable Thich Bar's monastery to give a talk. Half an hour of stillness. And it kind of surprises me because I'm still conditioned by my upbringing. If you've got a cold, take some medicine or medication or something, or put something in your nose or something. But no, there's another way of dealing with it, using the stillness to allow the body to get some energy, so any of these sicknesses kind of vanish. But anyway, what the stillness is, how you can taste that stillness. I was going to say how you achieve that stillness, and that's the wrong use of words. You don't make stillness, you don't achieve it, you don't force your mind to be still. This is how you create stillness. This water over here represents your mind. This is a symbol which has been going for almost centuries, water representing your mind. How can I get this water to be perfectly still without tiring myself out? And it's so easy. If I'm mindful, it's not still yet. If I focus, concentrate. I've done this for so many times. I'm being fair. I'm trying to keep this water still. But it never happens. Many of you can be meditating for years, trying to hold your mind still with mindfulness, even kindness, even concentration. You find it will never work. You just get tired. As many people in this world leave meditation, even they may be Sri Lankan, they're supposed to be Buddhists. They say, I can't do it. My mind is just wanders all over the place, or it gets tired. You know why it gets tired? Because you wear yourself out. My arm is now starting to get tired. It's just natural cause and effect. How do I get this water to be perfectly still? It's an obvious. You put it down. You let it go. You renounce. Relax to the max. Stop controlling. Stop worrying about the future. How still is that now? Is it pretty still? It does it all by itself. It's its default state. The nearest simile which I can give is your computer. If you stop pressing the buttons on the screen, then you find that computer screen turns off after a few minutes. Just like your brain, your mind. If you don't do anything, it turns off. You become still, but it doesn't turn off altogether. Your interest in that five sense world, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and even the physical body, turns off. Even if your physical body is sick. It's nice to see you all here, but I'm sure that many of you have all sorts of sicknesses inside of you somewhere. Coughs, colds, old age, I don't know what else you're carrying inside your body. I'm not really care about that. I care about you, but I don't really worry that people may be sick. You can still meditate very, very, very effectively. You know, I gave that story a few days ago about having scrub typhus in the hospital for about 3 weeks, a very heavy fever, only about 23, 24, but still had no energy at all, and still being able to get into the deepest of meditations. It's kind of surprised me. That's possible. If you know how to meditate, that's how you meditate. You put it down. Put down the past and the future. Be kind to the present. And just let go. I've let go of that cup. One of the problems people have, you put down the cup in this metaphor. Is it still yet? Look, come on. I haven't got all day, you know. Come on. Listen, water. You're supposed to be still, okay? Please don't interfere with the process. Your job is also to let go and be patient, to learn how to wait. Do you know how to wait? Most people don't. They usually wait for something to happen. Real waiting, letting go, is waiting in this moment, with no perception of the future or the past left, and no sense of having to describe everything. I don't know many of you, when you went to school or university, had notepads, and you took notes of everything which was happening. Oh no, it's not a notepad, you're not writing, Tina. That's a piece of paper in front of you, but you're keeping your hands off it. Good, well done. So you don't take notes during the meditation. Instead of trying to describe these things to yourself, you leave them alone. You know them just through the feelings, through the perceptions, not through the thoughts. Many of you here today, I don't know your names. I don't have to know your names. I recognize you. And you, when I see you, these nice memories are brought up. That's good enough. In the ancient world, this is in Europe, to know somebody's name was said to have power over them. And sometimes you used to have these witches, wizards. I remember this one story, I think it's Grimm's fairy tales. There was this person, he was like a wizard, and he had a very strange name called Rumpelstiltskin. Do any of you remember that story? And he managed to trick this lady into being able to weave gold out of straw to get her out of a difficult situation. But then after a week or something, then she would have to marry him, just the old-fashioned stories. And the only way she could escape from that curse was if she knew and could find out this guy's name. And the story was how she eventually found her name, his name, Rumpelstiltskin, a weird name. Because in that time, if you knew a person's name, you did have power over them. If you knew a phenomenon's name, it's like you could control it. If you don't know any names, you have no choice except to let go. When I was young, you know, I was a scientist, theoretical physics. And I also remember one of the founders of science, he said the only way we can create what we now know as technology was to be able to measure phenomena accurately. Once you measure temperature, you measure weight, you measure space, time, with accuracy, then we have a chance to start what eventually became known as the technological revolution. He was smart enough to know you had to measure things accurately first of all, to control nature. And I always remember thinking, what would happen if you don't measure? When you don't measure things, you have to let things go. You've got no choice. Is it hot today? Is it cold today? When you don't measure, you just don't know. And then you're far more at peace. When you don't measure the person sitting next to you, are they a good person or a bad person? If you measure them as a good person, then you find that's what you expect. And you get disappointed. If you measure them a bad person, you expect something bad. And therefore, you're almost creating that badness. When you don't measure at all, the person sitting next to you is just a person, open and free. And you relate to them in a far more different, effective way. So, your meditation. Have you got good meditation or bad meditation? Ajahn Brahm, what about your meditation? Is it good or bad? And the answer, of course, is I don't have any meditation. I don't own it. It doesn't belong to me. And a good example of that is one of my metaphors which I use to describe a question which often comes up in meditation. But it also became, my delight in telling funny stories and jokes. It's also a joke in and of itself. It's about these migrants who came to Australia. This migrant family who came here into Australia, he used to be a doctor in his home country. When he came here, all his certificates were not recognized. And he had to do something to earn some money before he could actually get some medical exam again. So he got a job in a building site in Sydney. And the first day of working in Sydney, he worked really, really hard. And at the end of the day, he came home, and his wife said, "How much did you earn today?" And the husband said, "Nothing. I didn't get any pay, nothing, not a cent." And she said, "Oh, I don't know why, maybe they're just checking you out. Please go to work again on Tuesday." Went to work on Tuesday, still didn't get any pay. Wednesday, still no pay. And Thursday, he worked extra hard, still didn't get any pay. And at the end of Thursday, he thought, people in Australia, they just exploit migrants. They don't respect them at all. I worked my butt off for nothing, for 4 days. And his wife said, "Well, you're not doing anything on Friday, just go to work, see if it changes." And when he went to work on Friday, he didn't have to work hard at all. And his wife, "Please come up. Venerable, he's a Jogje monk. You can sit somewhere. I've got a spot here. Okay. On the chair or over here or here. Whatever." On that 5th day, Friday, he didn't work hard at all. And in the mid-morning, the boss called him into the office. "Please enjoy." "Thank you. Chuayo." On the 5th day, the boss called him into the office and gave him a big pay packet. And he was so pleased. All this money just for hardly doing any work at all on Friday. And that's when he went home and told his wife, "I finally figured out how it works in Australia. From now on, I'm only going to work on Fridays." On payday. That's like a person who's meditating and it doesn't work. You work hard, you don't get any pay, no joy, no deep stillness. Don't worry. Payday's coming. What day is it today? You're not measuring good. But when it is sort of payday, often people think, "Oh, now I can meditate." But no, you still have to. All those other times you meditate, that's building up the credit. So when you do meditate, it does take time for all of that letting go, all of that renouncing, all of that putting things down, all of that not owning things. If you don't own it, you can put it down very easily. Santi Monastery. I'm here today and I can really enjoy it. You know why it looks more beautiful to me than it looks to Venerable Karunika? Because I'm a visitor. She's the boss. And that's true. When you go home, so check it out, have one morning a week, one whole day if you can, where you think you're a visitor to the house or apartment in which you live. Do not do any washing up. Do not do any cooking. Order Uber Eats or whatever they have. Don't do any cleaning at all. Imagine you're like me. I didn't do any cleaning when I was staying in the Lumia Hermitage Vihara. I didn't do any cleaning at all. I just left all my stuff there. Why? Because I'm a visitor. Is that what you would do if you were staying sort of in a hotel somewhere? It's not your job to do the cleaning. It's your job to do the relaxing and resting and being at peace. So one day a week in your house, do not be in charge. Be a visitor. Just like you invite your friends or maybe your mother and father from Sri Lanka to come to the house, for a holiday. How many of you invite your mum and dad to come to Australia for a holiday, and how many of you make your mum and dad wash the dishes? They're your guests. They just sit there and relax. Hi, Karunika, do you make your mum wash the dishes? No, let anyone else there. Of course she does. But she enjoys that. She stays here. But I haven't done that. Not forgiven. This is the teaching. I don't do these things out of laziness. I show this is what he should do. One day a week, Karunika, and be a visitor like Ajahn Brahm. So you can just sit here and talk to people, have cups of tea, have nice food, go for nice walks. You appreciate the monastery or the place which you live much better. So this is actually how we learn how to let go. We see that glass of water perfectly still. There's an old story, and this is one I've known for many years and have used for many years. But the last time I was in South Korea, when I did this event next to the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, one of the senior teachers of the Jogje order, he repeated the simile of the best way to see the full moon at night is reflected in the waters of a still mountain lake. Somehow or other it just adds extra beauty and depth and profundity when it's a reflection of the sky above. The only way that you can experience that is when there is no wind. If there are any ripples or waves on the surface of that lake, it distorts the image. But when that lake is perfectly smooth, no wind, no disturbance, when it's still, then you get this perfect image of the moon and stars in the heavens above. That's a simile for what we call insight. The truth is reflected in the still mind, which you've let happen. You never did it. You allowed it to become still by leaving it alone. And that's how we meditate with our mind. Okay. Now, my plan actually was to give a little bit of a talk, first of all, to settle you all down. And then we can actually do some meditation. Is that okay with you? It's now 10:15. Okay, great. Oh, did you want one as well? And I saw the lady sitting next to her looked very happy, and then you went past her. Okay, yeah. That's good. Okay. And if you're in the sun, you can always move. There's more places up the front. Yeah, lots of places. Look, there's front seats here. They cost a fortune if it was Taylor Swift's concert. And who's more important, Taylor Swift or Ajahn Brahm? There we go. I don't know this, but people say they call that the mosh pit. Yeah, come and get out of the sun and have some comfort. There's some more places over here. You can move your cushions as well and find a place somewhere. Even up here. Yeah. Yeah, heaps of places. Come on. Okay. One of the nice things about meditating in the Buddhist temple is the people over here, they all keep precepts, a kindness, but also you can leave stuff around and you know that no one's going to take it. It gives you a sense of safety. As for me, I want to make sure that you're comfortable. So you're sure the sun's not going to actually... If doing the meditation, the sun starts to move and starts to bake you, please don't worry. There is a fire ban, so you won't catch lights. Anyway, let's get started. So, sitting, hopefully you're comfortable. If you're still not comfortable, or if during the meditation it gets very hot, please, you can get up and walk quietly just to the side and change your position. It's almost like a mindfulness exercise for you. Be able to get up without people noticing. It's also a training camp for ASIO, so you can come and go without anybody noticing. ASIO is the Australian secret spy organisation, I think. This is where they get trained. No, I'm only joking. So please close your eyes and meditate for about half an hour, 40 minutes, and then we'll have a little opportunity for a couple of questions if they come up. Oh. I've had so much joy out of meditation. When I close my eyes and I meditate with you, it's just a sense of, wow, I can meditate now. Don't need to think of stories or jokes. So sitting in this position, cross-legged, first of all, my awareness goes to my feet. How I do that is I ask my feet, how are you? Just like so many of you, you see, for the first time in weeks or months, I ask you, how are you? And very often people give me what they think is the acceptable response. But when you ask your own feet, how are you? Acceptable is not good enough. The honest response, how do your feet feel now? Are they comfortable? Ask that. If you're sitting on a chair, are your feet, on the cushion, the mat, or the floor? Do they need to be pushed apart or pushed more underneath the chair or more away? Discover what is the most comfortable position for your feet right now. The mindfulness is listening to the answer. The kindness is following the suggestions of your feet, respecting them, so you can move them to find the best position for this half an hour meditation. Even if you don't have to move them, the very fact of asking, means that you care for that part of your body, and that relaxes you, makes that part of the body feel good. And once your feet are comfortable, you go to the next part of your body, your ankles. When you've got your eyes closed, and everyone's got their eyes closed, if there's anything else which is irritating. For example, just a moment ago, my nose was really itchy, so I picked my nose. You didn't see it, but then I thought, oh my goodness, this is being recorded. That doesn't matter. My nose feels so much better now. So how's your ankles? When I ask that question, that's how I establish the mindfulness in that area. And I feel the sensations there. I get to know my body. I become an expert on those sensations. My sensations anyway. I know how to relax them all, bring them to a state of peace and ease. This is called kindfulness, the mindfulness together with kindness. And once my ankles are comfortable, I move up to the calves of my legs, the muscles, the skin around the front of the legs, the shins. I pick up any sensations that I can. Kind of amazed, I can feel some tiredness in those shin muscles, the calves. I think it's probably because of all that walking around last night at the fundraiser, going from table to table. So I'm aware of those feelings, and for feelings like that I just give them kindness. Allow those muscles to relax, to loosen up. Even just suggesting that, my body responds appropriately, and everything else becomes so loose and free and restful. And I go up to my knees. I'm sure that each one of you have had accidents, sports accidents, motorbike accidents, falling off ladders accidents. And sometimes your knees have had many blows to them. And I can feel those muscles, bones, ligaments, I don't know what else is there, but I know how my knees feel. And I'm kind to them. Relax them to the max. And as I keep my awareness on my knees, I notice if they get more relaxed or they tense up. If they're tensing up, I'm going in the wrong direction. So I change attitude, still keep the mindfulness there, but discover more what kindness means. When I'm kind to those feelings in the knees, they get so easy, so loose, so free. That's what my knees feel like now. They have changed since I started. Way more relaxed. And I go up to my thighs, just knowing there's many sensations in those muscles or in the skin. And if I need to adjust the positions of the thighs, I will do so. That's what I mean about respecting and being kind to my body. I bring it to a state of stillness and comfort. If I don't move but I'm uncomfortable, I tend to tense up and get sort of frozen, it's not free. When I'm kind, you get much deeper stillness and it's joyful. I know I can hold it for way longer. Actually, I don't hold it. It's just still by itself. I just make sure I don't interfere. Leave it alone. It's peaceful. And then from my thighs I go to my buttocks. Today I'm sitting on a cushion. Yesterday I was sitting on a chair. Depends what's given to me. And I can feel the pressure of my body on the cushion. It's not as even as I would like, but it's good enough. So I just notice this and allow my buttocks to relax and be at peace. I know that feeling will disappear soon. And then I go to my waist. And today, my waist, I know I can get into a much more comfortable position. So now I'll do that. All it is just straightening up my back a bit. I've seen animals in the forest, especially kangaroos. They put their forearms against a tree and stretch themselves. That's exactly what I'm doing now. But no tree, no forearms, just raising my back, stretching it. And the waist feels much more easy. And then I let go of forcing my back, just allow it to relax. And to me, that's the posture which I found the most comfortable. I don't care how you adjust your back, as long as you are aware of it and kind to your back, to find the most comfortable posture possible for you. And I go back to the bottom of my torso, and I just scan my attention up the digestive tract, or that area of the body where the digestive tract is located. I can feel just my lower body, and move that attention upwards, like scanning it. And as I move it upwards, if I find any part which is tense, troubled, or in pain, I've found it very easy over the years to trust this process so much. You can focus even on difficult pain and give it so much kindness. You notice that the pain disappearing. First it gets less and then it totally vanishes. I remember doing that with food poisoning some years ago. And I was amazed at how effective that is. Find peace in your own body. And keep moving the attention upwards, up to the intestines and then to the stomach. I try and feel the stomach, even though I'm never sure I've got it properly located. Somewhere in that central chest area, if I feel any sensations, I learn how to relax them. So nothing is being pulled apart, nothing is being squashed. Everything is loose and free, tension-free. And then that feels relaxed. Move up towards my lungs. And don't deliberately breathe in fast or strong or deep. I just give care to my own lungs, wishing them happiness and well-being. That's my heart region. Making sure everything is at ease, Nothing is afraid, nothing is tight. Everything is loose. So I know that that's where the healing energies of the body can actually go through the body and do their job of bringing health and strength wherever it's needed. And I go up to my shoulders. I don't know why this keeps happening to me. My shoulders, when I start meditating, are always tense. Then I can feel those shoulders, the tension in the muscles. And one of the ways I deal with this is deliberately scrunching up my shoulders. Scrunching them up as much as I possibly can. That's doing something. Ajahn Brahm, are you sure you meant to do that? But once it's scrunched up as much as possible, then let go. You all know what letting go means. You stop holding, you stop stretching, you stop squashing. Everything becomes as loose as possible. And know that that's the best position for my own shoulders. You go down your arms, down to your elbows. If you've had any injuries to your elbows, just give this wonderful kindness. I care for you, elbows. If I say that to any one of you, I can see your face light up, and you relax even more deeply. I go to my hands, making sure even each finger on both hands is comfortable. I don't say there's a right posture and a wrong posture. Just say which is the most comfortable. You try it out, find out. And once my fingers are content, happy, arms are happy, shoulders are at ease, I know I've relaxed my whole body from the shoulders downwards, from the neck downwards. And I just carry on just the last stretch and the neck and the head. I pay attention to my neck, because a few times when I meditated for longer periods, you can have a neck ache afterwards, and that's quite sort of disturbing. I found out that's because either my head is too far to the left or too far to the right, too far forward or too far back. So at this point my attention is on my neck and the head on top of it, making sure that the head is not too far forward or to one side. It's kind of like a balancing exercise. And once my head feels well balanced on top of the neck, I know I've done my job. I can let the head be, and the neck won't have any pain. And last of all, I am aware now of the sensations, the feelings around my eyes, nose and mouth. My intention now is to know those feelings, those sensations, and loosen up any tightness, release any tension by letting go of whatever is stretching it on either side. Allow all those muscles on the face to relax to the max. Because I know this is a very convenient and powerful segue, taking you from the world of the body into the world of the mind. Because your emotions are played out on your face, on those muscles. So relaxing those muscles of your face relaxes many of the stronger emotions. The next thing which happens So you start to feel the delight of relaxation. Having a body which is at ease really feels good, to me anyway. It feels pleasurable. I deliberately look for that pleasure, notice it. Because if you do, your relaxation level of peace becomes even deeper. I just got into the habit of doing this. So I start this part of meditation, enjoying the delight, pleasure of a relaxed body. When I do, I notice the relaxation go even deeper. I use the delight of relaxation as the object, the mental object, take me deeper into stillness, but also deeper into delight. And then to go more into the mind. I ask myself, how peaceful am I now? Because peace is one way of looking at your mind. The body's not at peace, the body's relaxed. It's the mind which knows peace. And I'm kind for that peace. I'm kind to this moment in which I can experience peace. I start noticing the enemies to peace, the enemy to the present moment, is obviously the past and the future. Once I allow any importance to past and future, it destroys my inner peace. So I let those two just disappear. Let go of concern for them. You never learn much from the past, certainly not as much as you learn from the present. And the future is what's being made right now. If you care for the future, put your attention in the present. But it's not just mindfulness, it's a kindness as well. The kindfulness of the present moment makes it easy to watch. And it stays. The natural result of as it stays, it gets more and more delightful, more and more easy to watch. And hear all those amazing sounds in the forest. The loudest is the silence. I'm going to be quiet for 5 minutes. So how do you feel right now? How peaceful are you? Can you notice how peace is a form of delight? It's enjoyable to be still. It's like you're free from all concerns or worries. No business necessary. And my mind is at peace. The body can feel the breeze. My ears can hear the birds. I'm in nature, rather than observing or hearing nature. Today I have not got a gong to me. So in the next few seconds, when you feel like coming out of the meditation, slowly come out, slowly open your eyes to end the meditation, and smile. Take out some of that joy into the external world. Thank you all. You know, that's a tradition which I never understood. When people would rub their hands after meditating. You know, Ajahn Chah would never do that. I never heard the Buddha do that. There's nothing wrong with it. Only that I prefer my hands just to be down there somewhere. So it's now 1:45, and I did want to open up for a couple of questions, because the first part of this morning was getting you to listen to how to meditate, a bit of Dhamma. But it's not just giving you the information, it's settling your minds down. Many of you come long distances, and just sitting down here and you start meditation straight away. Just the brain is still hot, it's still warm, it's still working. And just giving a few words of advice is just allowing your brain and your 5 senses to settle down, and then we do the meditation. But I also wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to ask a couple of questions if you had them. So if you have a question, please just put your hand up. Yes, good. And you can shout out the question. Okay, I've got a microphone. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I mean, the main part of the meditation, the reason why I keep talking about this and showing it again and again and again, is putting things down, letting things go. Even when you were doing the body sweep meditation, what you were putting down in the body sweep was the past and the future. And just control, sometimes worrying what other people think of you. You relaxed, you let go. I know that when I first started meditating, I was taught full lotus, right hand over the left hand, back straight, chin in. That was just controlling. Other monks would see me and say, oh, he's got a good posture. But inside I was really tense, trying to prove things to myself and to others. That's nothing to do with meditation. That's the opposite. Control, judging, putting things down. That's a beautiful simile because people can understand it very simply. And you know you're going in the right direction if your body feels relaxed and your mind feels at ease. And then the stillness happens. This is one of the other things in meditation. Thank you for that question. Because sometimes what I do, I just start meditating and see what happens. I don't plan it, I don't control it. My job is literally to get out of the way and let it happen. And that really surprises me. Because when you let it happen, it does happen. Whoa. And you sort of read all these stories in the suttas and what happened to the monks and nuns in the time of the Buddha. And the same thing starts to happen. And so, I'm innocent, I didn't do it. I just let go and watch these things occur. Amazing sort of states of mind and peace and joy and bliss. I did mention, just in brief, I'll just say a few words about it. It's one of the monks' occupational hazards. Same thing happens to the nuns as well. Indigestion. We don't cook our food. We don't choose it. We try to say what's good for us. A good example of that, when I was visiting Canada, then Ajahn Brahm said to these people, I was born in England and some foods make me sick. Well, please don't do this, don't remember this type of food. But one of the foods which I find very easy to eat is shepherd's pie. So Ajahn Brahm told my host over in Canada, please make him a shepherd's pie. And so they did that. So the potato on the top. And I thought, wow, this looks good. And I put quite a bit of that in my bowl and found out, yes, it was potato on the top. And it was hot Sri Lankan curry underneath. Oh, that made me really sore tummy. But I love that story because that just reminded me, you can't just judge a pie by what's on its top. But anyway, on this occasion, it was full-on food poisoning. That's not what you put in the curries or the food. It's just it kind of ferments, and whatever bacteria is there start to really grow. And you never know that when you first eat it. It's only later on those bacteria keep on growing, and you get this food poisoning. And I live in a cave. I live in a cave because it's silent, I can hide there. But it also means if I get sick, no one can hear me screaming. Ah! That's what I was doing. Ah! It was automatic, you can't stop it. Ah! As the cramps came in your tummy, and they're just really painful. If someone had heard me, they'd have called for an ambulance. And I realized that I'd have to crawl out of my room. The nearest phone was maybe a couple of 100 meters away. And I'd probably be dead by then. So I remember just thinking, what should I do? Oh, come on, you're a monk. You teach other people. So let's do the meditation therapy. And I say this because every time I do this, I should know better. I know what it works. But it still surprises me. It gives me so much delight to see it actually working. I was just mindful and kind to my stomach or intestines, whatever it was, as they contracted. I didn't try to do anything. I've learned for many years not to try and control anything. Don't do anything. Just be with it with kindness. And I noticed that every time you had a contraction, in the spasm, the pain was a little bit less than last time. And then another little bit less. Another little bit less. Only about after 5 minutes I knew it was working. After half an hour there was no more spasms, no more pain. Just the food poisoning had disappeared. 30 minutes, that's pretty good. And he says, wow, you're kind of inspired by these teachings of meditation and how powerful they can be. It was real food poisoning. But then afterwards, my stomach was fine. And I sometimes kind of fantasize, how could that work? They were real bacteria. I remember the times in a science class, you actually looked at bacteria through a microscope. At least the closest you could get to them. Little blobs with these kind of tentacles coming off them. Then I imagined that because I was meditating, each one of these blobs, their tentacles were all crossed in the equivalent of full lotus. That all these bacteria were meditating with me. And that's why they weren't misbehaving and causing me pain. I don't know, but there was no pain anymore. No sort of stomach ache. Nothing. It just totally vanished. And I love that sort of stuff, to see something which is there, real. You can feel it. I've got a good endurance to pain. But that was, just automatic. As, the mouth sort of screamed with the contractions in the tummy. Yeah. Sorry. When I'm sleeping. Yes. No, that means you were tired. You sleep. The deep meditations, you're perfectly aware. You're more aware than you are in ordinary states of being. That's a weird thing. You're in there, you're not moving. This is one of those stories, anecdotes, which I've collected over the years. This is Greg. He was this guy who just by chance got into a deep meditation at home on a Sunday afternoon. His wife went to check on him. Why is he still in his room? He'd been in there about an hour and a half. He only meditates for 40 minutes. She went into his room and he was perfectly still, sitting in his meditation position. Trouble was he was too still. He wasn't even breathing. She called the ambulance. When the medics came, only after about 5 or 10 minutes, it was a Sunday afternoon, they checked him, put him straight into the ambulance and rushed him to Charles Gardner Hospital in Perth. And they put on the machines. Both were flat lines. ECG and EEG were both flat lines. They put defibrillators on him. In those days, anyway, quite a few years ago now, to electric shocks, to try and get his heart going. Apparently these days they use, I think it's adrenaline or something. But anyway, electric shocks. You go about an inch or two off the table. Many times they did that. Nothing worked. They thought he was dead. Except the doctor on duty that day, thank goodness for that good fortune, he was of Indian descent. His parents had migrated from India, and they'd heard these tales of people meditating and suspending all their life activities. He knew he was meditating. The life activities were all suspended. Nothing was there. But for those of you who are scholars, who've read some of the suttas, the only difference between him and a corpse was his body was still warm. And that's exactly what the Buddha said. So if one day you go into the nuns' quarters over there and you find the Venerable Karunika is sitting there perfectly still, you can put a light into her eyes, nothing happens, shout into her ear, she still is perfectly still. Don't send her to the crematorium yet. See if she's still warm. If she's still warm, leave her alone. She's in deep meditation. And so eventually, this guy, I asked him, he survived. I asked him, just please, be honest, can I tell this story? And he said, yes, of course you can. It's a powerful story. He said that all the time he was having these electric shocks, all the time that these sirens taking him to the hospital, really loud, he couldn't hear or feel a thing in his body or hear anything through his ears. His 5 senses had been suppressed. Were you deeply asleep? He said, no! This was the most wonderful experience of my life. I was really aware, fully aware of the bliss of like a pure mind state. You're really, really aware and you can never forget it. It's enhanced awareness. Similar to the times if you've ever been in an accident, fallen off a cliff or been in a car crash, your awareness is amplified. You can feel so much more, but that's out of danger. When you're getting these deep meditations, there's no danger at all, but still the mindfulness is amplified so many times. And it's also, you can never forget it. Those deep meditations, they stay with you for years. You've been blissed out, and you can remember it so easily.
I have another question.
Yeah.
This is a gentleman who's been waiting patiently since yesterday.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, of course. Easy answer. Okay. Indeed. No, look, this is amazing just how the Buddha taught. Now, at the end of the Buddha's life, just before he passed away, there was this person from a different type of practice. And he asked him this amazing question: can people who don't follow you, basically non-Buddhists, can they achieve enlightenment? And the answer of the Buddha, I thought, was incredibly wise, so I keep repeating it, was that as long as you're practicing the Eightfold Path, doesn't matter what you call yourself, doesn't matter what type of robes you wear, whether it's South Korean grey robes or Theravada brown robes or black robes or pink robes, I don't know what robes, doesn't matter, man or woman, what particular tradition you say you're from. It's not sort of what you identify as or with, it's what you do. If you follow that Eightfold Path, which ends up with not doing anything, that becomes the path to enlightenment. And that's what the Buddha said. Anyone who practices the Eightfold Path will become enlightened, fully enlightened. So, but how long does it take? How long does it take to have lunch? Some people can stay, and as I've seen this, if you're not taking 8 precepts a day, you're in the lunch chatting away, eating and chatting and eating, your lunch takes, I don't know if you ever finish. This is one amazing thing. Been to so many people, like with house dinners or celebrations, and as a monk, a nun, you eat, and it's over in about 10 or 15 minutes, and that's our meal of the day. And some of you guys, you're still eating there again and again and again for about an hour. And you can have dinner this evening as well, and supper as well. And I couldn't believe that sometimes. So how long does it really take? That's up to you. There's one other thing that can I add these things because they're important. Many people can get very close to, say, deep meditation, which is the 8th factor of the Eightfold Path, and you don't allow yourself to. A lot of time it's fear. If ever you get fear in your meditation, it's because of something you're letting go of, about to let go of, and you're still too attached to it. Fear is a sign that something you're attached to is being taken away. Please, for goodness sake, let it be taken away. You feel so much more freedom afterwards. So anyone who does experience fear in the meditation, great. You're close. Just let it go and the fear disappears, and so does many other things. You get closer to liberation. The other thing I'm going to say, because I'm on the subject now, is even these deep meditations, the 8th factor of the Eightfold Path, even the first jhana, they call them jhanas, states of deep stillness. Even the first jhana, every time I repeat this, I get goosebumps. And this was when the Buddha described, how does that in the first jhana feel? And he said that you experience what the Buddha called Sambodhi Sukha. Anyone who knows Pali knows Sambodhi means like enlightenment. The first jhana is not enlightenment. There's more to go. But Sambodhi Sukha means you are experiencing in that state your first taste of enlightenment. How it feels. Not an intellectual, Ajahn Brahm, please explain what is enlightenment. That's just words. And people argue with words. But the actual experience, the feeling of it. Goodness gracious. When you understand what the Buddha said there and take that seriously, you get in these deep meditations, you're knocking on the door. It can be done. It does get done. How long does it take? You never know. The Buddha's simile was like the practice of the Eightfold Path is like filling up a big clay water jar, but it's higher than your own height. So you don't know how much water is in there. You don't know how much more it needs before it overflows. Just add a bit more water every day. And then one day it overflows. It has to eventually. And that really just blows your mind. How many days does it take to fill the water jar? I don't know. Just keep on filling it, that's all. You know it's going to happen. Answer your question? Okay. When you're relaxing, you can inhale and exhale, but you don't concentrate on it. As you get deeper in meditation, you're still breathing for the first couple of jhanas, but your mindfulness is not on there. It does it without you noticing. Your heart is still beating. Can you feel your heart beat now? It's beating. But because we're not paying attention to it, we haven't learned how to pay attention to our heartbeat, that we don't feel it. But in the meditation, you train yourself sometimes to watch the breath. When it gets very deep, the breath is so refined, you can't feel it. And instead you go into the part of the mind which feels the joy and the bliss. The Buddha always called that a chitta sankhara. And that gives the meaning, this is coming from the mind, not the body. When you're watching your breath and it appears to be a gorgeous breath, oh, that's nice. The gorgeous part of that is not what you feel through the 5th sense of touch. It's just what the mind knows. You're transitioning from the 5th sense space to the 6th sense space, the mind, the citta. And then the other 5 senses, all of the 5 senses eventually disappear. Okay.